Hello, my name is Zach Zimmer. Imagine yourself in your dream job. You've worked for years to get to this job and you finally got hired. Now imagine yourself losing this job because you lack the proper communication skills. You could be out of a job even if you're great at what you do. I personally have had difficulty communicating what I want done, what needs to be done, and how I feel. Today, I will be speaking to you about how communication is vital to my choice of career, including why communication is vital, how communication is used in the workplace, and consequences of poor communication. In order to recognize that communication is vital for engineers, you first need to understand why. Why is communication vital? Your success at getting your point across effectively can be the difference between sealing the deal and missing out on a potential opportunity. You need to be able to fully explain yourself and effectively answer questions. Good communication is an asset. Engineering requires a large volume of writing, which can become very difficult at times, which is why it's important to know how to communicate that. Not communicating your point can leave others to guess what you mean. This can cause harm to projects and other things being worked on. We've talked about why communication is vital, but now let's talk about how it is used. How we use communication in the workplace. Communication is something that is especially necessary in a place of work. Working on a single project may require a collaboration from several different people from several different professions. We've talked about why and how communication is used. Now let's focus on the consequences of poor communicating. Let's look at some consequences of poor communication. Around $37 billion are lost yearly due to employee misunderstandings and bad communication. 70% of U.S. employees don't feel engaged, in great part due to communication barriers. Focus can really start to lack in an environment where communication is not prioritized. Meetings are ineffective and inefficient, which can cause high employee stress and low employee morale. People can fail to recognize their purpose. If we are unable to properly communicate on a daily basis, it's most likely because we've lost sight of our original intended purpose. Culture is also something that can affect communication. If you were raised in a low context culture, you might respond differently to an invitation than as somebody who was raised in a high context culture. So what this means is, if you were born and raised in a high context culture, you might respond to an invitation and say, oh, that's fun, but then not show up because you gave it away in subtle hints, like you didn't exactly say what you meant, gave it away in the way, the tone of your voice, and your body language. But however, if you were raised in a high context culture, you say exactly what you mean. So you might say, yeah, that sounds great, I'll be there. You rely not very much on body language, but you say exactly what you mean. As you can see, there are several different sides to communication being vital for somebody in a workplace. It's very important to know not only to know how to communicate, but also why you are communicating. Communication is something that is vital. It is important to understand how it is used in the workplace, and it is important to understand the consequences of poor communication. I hope that speaking of this helps you recognize not just how vital communication can be for an engineer, but also in every facet of your life.